Hey guys, so I'm going to create a video that shows you how to clip images in Photoshop, because that will be one of the things that you'll be needing to know how to do in Photoshop for your self-portrait project. So in order to complete this assignment, or this demo assignment, we're going to do a download of this woman sitting image from week 3. So go ahead and click on that black arrow, push download. That'll go into your downloads folder. It might automatically open up in preview, I guess, if you're on a Mac. And then let's go to Photoshop. So let's do a file open. We're going to navigate to that downloads folder. I have mine on list view and by date added, so I can have the most recent thing at the top here. But let's go ahead and open this. And here we go. This is the image. Make sure you're in Window, Workspace, Essentials. So click on that. Make sure you're on that. Make sure it might help you to expand your toolbar as well so that it matches what I have. If you're following along, that will help. We can unlock our layer by clicking on the lock icon. So one way, what we're going to try and do here in this video is just create a quick selection, and then we're going to create a new layer with that selection on it, and we might place another image within this image as well. So just follow along. So we're going to actually use the quick selection tool, one of my favorite tools to use to create a selection. So let's go ahead and just start clicking and dragging over the figure of the woman. We want to try and get her clipped out of the background. So let's just quickly try and get in there. You can zoom in as well if you need to. This is just a really rough clip that I'm doing initially. Okay, so like that's not perfect, obviously, especially her hand there is not very great, but we can refine our selection. But let's actually go into select and mask. You can also go here, add layer mask to create layer masks, but don't do that. Actually, let's just go right into select and mask. And you can see we kind of came into this whole new little bit of a workspace that's different than, the layers panel just disappeared, and now we have like a properties panel with a lot of different options. I did show you this in the other video, but there's some feathering that you can do to the edges to kind of help it look more natural. We're not going to do that right now. You can mess with some of these other sliders if you like. If you scroll down in here, there's actually a scroll bar here, which is actually kind of hard to see, but it does scroll. And we want to put the output selection to layer mask. So once you do that, that's good. You can also invert your selection quite easily with the invert button, but we're not going to do that. We want her to be showing up right now. So if we want to add to our selection, we can. If we want to subtract from it, we can. We could change the size of the brush itself to become smaller or larger, softer, or harder. I actually have it turned up to all the way hard, which means that the outside of that brush that we're using to select things is very crisp. The further down on hardness we go, the more feathered it gets. So, I mean, if I put my brush over here, I mean, this is a pretty good size of brush. I might make it a little bit smaller. Obviously, the smaller you go, the more detailed in your selections you can get, probably. And then one thing that helps is the transparency, adjusting that a little bit so you can kind of see the background just a little bit so you know what you're missing. And then we can also do a Command plus to kind of, you can see her little band there, to zoom in, and then you can push on your spacebar on your keyboard and use your mouse or trackpad to, while continuously holding down the spacebar, to kind of move around in your document. So I see a few areas of concern here. Obviously, there's part of this that I don't want selected, so I'm going to subtract from my selection using the subtraction button up here. It has a little minus. So we can kind of subtract from our selection here. Like I said, I have a really hard brush right now. And then maybe I want to add to my selection, so I can kind of just quickly add some of this stuff here. It's not perfect, like I said, but if we get like the majority, it's kind of a blurry image down here too. It's not, I'm going to Command Z that. Oh, no, I'm going to Shift Command Z to bring it back, actually. We can subtract from it here. Oops, no, that's not right. Subtract. This is actually, so if we hover over this, we have the quick selection tool, we have the refine edge brush tool, and we have the brush tool. So, you know, sometimes the refine brush tool is refine edge is great. So if I want to subtract from here, you can experiment with these different brushes, but the one that might work the best for you is either the quick selection tool or the brush tool. The brush tool is very manual, like it will go with whatever you put in there. So if I kind of do this, it'll do it for me. The quick selection tool uses the computer a little bit to aid you in kind of getting rid of some of the stuff that it thinks you don't want. And sometimes the computer does a good job, and then sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't do a good job, I suggest using the brush tool, because it'll do exactly what you tell it to do. And in this case, I think I do need to use it, because the computer really just did not do a very good job of picking out the end of this finger. Now, if I really wanted to do a very good job of this, I would make my brush smaller. I would, you know, I would definitely, you know, go and zoom in even more and make my brush a lot smaller. And, you know, I'm on the brush tool now, so I can do a very custom selection here. And I would work my way around, you know, all of the areas of her to try and get it just smoothed out and stuff. To try and get everything. I might turn the transparency up a little bit more, or down, I guess I should say, just so I can really see my selection better. Her chin's a little rough, but I think if we use a feather, we can fix that. Her hair is really tough to select. There's some of it a little bit missing. This is maybe where this tool would work out, the quick selection tool, and adding some of the hair in. The computer sometimes does a pretty good job of kind of helping you to get the hair. And you kind of just work slowly. There's a bit of hair here that is like kind of missing, which I could bring it back in. It might look a little funky. I guess we'll see. But using the computer to help you with the hair parts sometimes is a good idea. Also, the feather that you add will also obviously help. And if you want to smooth it out a little bit, you can kind of go along the edge with the actual brush tool and be very manual and very custom about it, and really just do it with your own hand without any aid from the actual computer. But if I want to use the computer to help me out a little bit, I can use the quick selection tool. It's not really doing a very great job, but I'm going to try and see what it does here for me, because there's definitely some wispy areas here, and obviously I grabbed too much. So yeah, it's just kind of a long process to get it right. Sometimes you need to adjust the size of your brush. Sometimes you don't, obviously. But I think for the most part, this is a pretty decent selection. The hand is a little rough. The hair is a little rough. Especially right here, we might want to just actually get rid of all of that because the background's really coming through. But let's add a little bit of a feather. I mean, I think somewhere around... let's turn the transparency down so we can really see that. Or up, I guess, so that we can really see the feather on her, because we don't want to go too far with it. Make it a little bit more subtle, maybe. There we go. That's not too bad. And then, you know... honestly, I would get rid of this part here altogether. Possibly using the brush tool, because this is looking a little rough. But I'm going to let you guys kind of play around with this, try and make it look as good as you can get it. There are other methods for like smoothing this out. You can mess around with the shifting of the edge. That might help a little bit. It's not doing much for me. You can smooth things out a little bit. If we go really far with it, I wonder how much difference that will make. It doesn't make a lot of difference. The edge detection area, if you open that up, you can experiment with this a little bit. It's also using the computer to do it. So anyway, just make sure your output selection is to layer mask before you push OK down here. And then that's our clip that we did. And then if we do a file place, embedded, let's go ahead and just bring in the Hilly Bear Paw Mountains. Actually, let's see. Yeah, the Hill Bear Paw Mountains. Place that in there. It's a pretty small image, but it'll work. Oops. So let's do Command T, or you can go to Edit, Free Transform, push Shift on your keyboard. Actually, you don't need to push Shift. You can just go ahead and size it up. Push Return to make it stick, and then move it down below. And if we want to rename our, let's rename our layers to, actually, woman sitting, and then bear paws. So you can rename your layers. So just make sure that you make a decent clip of the woman. Make sure that you bring in the bear paw mountain image that I have in Brightspace. You'll have to download that from week 3 Brightspace. Put it underneath her and then rename the layers. And then if you do that, then you will have completed the assignment. Let's go ahead and just do a file. Let's do a save as. I want you to turn in a PSD file, so make sure you put this in your documents, in your Graphic Design 231 folder, and then you can create a new folder that is called Week 3 Demo, or maybe let's call it Clipping Demo. Create that, and then maybe just put your first name. I'm going to take the 11 off there, but Mary Woman Sitting. So put your first name, womansitting.psd, and yeah, that will basically make sure it's a Photoshop document so that we have all your layers preserved. And go ahead and push save, and turn that in for a grade, that PSD file for a grade, the one with your first name, womansitting.psd, and that will be it for this. Thanks. Bye.